Just like my other video, the title of this one is also a little bit clickbaity. There is no such thing as the best blanket settings for your microphone when it comes to GoXLR, GoXLR Mini, or any other DAW or program or plugin that you're using. However, for so many streamers, this is the first time they've seen things like gates, compressors, and EQs. The good news is there are some blanket settings that, no matter what your voice or microphone is, can get you almost all the way there. I'm John Horstman, and today I'm going to show you how to sound great with the GoXLR Mini. Before we get started, my name is John Horstman. I also go by KickedTripod, and I design technology for content creators and streamers, including the GoXLR Mini. If you do like this type of content, please do give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get a notification when any new video goes live. Before we do anything, let's make sure that your settings match this screenshot. One of the most important things that you can do to get the best audio out of your microphone is to set the gain correctly. So when you open up the mic setup tab, in the mic tab of the GoXLR app, you're going to be prompted with a microphone type and a gain slider. Choose the microphone type that you have. If you have a dynamic mic, choose dynamic. If you have a condenser microphone or a microphone using a mic activator like a cloud lifter or a FET head, choose condenser. Otherwise, if you're using a USB microphone or a 3.5mm microphone, choose 3.5mm. When you're setting up your gain, I find that for most streamers, it's best to look and try to be in this low part of good or high part of low. This overall mic meter is set a little bit high. And for most streamers who have PC fans and box fans in the background, it's okay to run it a little bit quieter so your mic's a little bit less sensitive. Another important thing to notice here is that the closer you can get the microphone to your mouth, the better audio you're going to get and the less room noise you're going to pick up and reverb. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up the GoXLR Mini EQ. And here's what the GoXLR Mini EQ looks like. What I like to do is I like to overlay these labels to tell you what specifically each band does. That way, as you start to play with it yourself and set up your settings for yourself and deviate from what I show you today, you're going to know a little bit better what parts of your voice you're changing. We're going to start from left to right and change the settings of each of these individual bands. Bear in mind, your voice and your microphone are going to change how your voice sounds with these settings. If you want a full rundown on how to manipulate these settings, I have a 35-minute video that goes through each of these more in depth. First, let's start with the 90 hertz, and this is going to be most of your bass. If I put it all the way up to +9, I get really full. And if I bring it down to -9, I lose a lot of the bass in my voice. I like to set this at about a +2. 160 hertz is the really fullness and muddiness of your voice. I just turned it up to +9, and wow, does it sound muddy. But if I take it all the way out, it kind of sounds shallow. For this one, I actually keep at 0 or -1. I don't really want mud in my microphone. I'm going to keep this one at 0 because I think it sounds better for my voice. The 480 hertz frequency is my favorite frequency. This is your broadcast frequency. If I turn it all the way up to +9, I get very boxy. It sounds like I'm talking right into a box. But if I cut it all the way down to -9, it sounds like I'm on an old FM radio. This is usually a little bit too much, but I like a little bit more of a broadcast style vocal. So if you like a broadcast style vocal, drop down to like -3. If you want something a little bit more natural, stay at like a -1 or even a 0. Next, we're going to go to the 1.5 kilohertz. This is kind of where we get into the nasal part of your voice, as well as into some of the low end of like your shushes and the low end of your highs. So if I go up like this, you can hear it's very walkie-talkie-y. It's very nasally. And if I take it all the way out, though, I lose a lot of definition in my voice. Generally speaking, you don't want to do too much with this frequency because you're going to lose so much with your voice. I drop it by 1 just to keep my voice a little bit less nasally, but I think 0 is also a really great option. Next, we're going to go to the 4.5 kilohertz frequency. This is the bread and butter of your highs, the actual susses and shushes of your voice, as well as kind of the low part of the airy part of your breath. So if I go up and I take this all the way to +9 here, it definitely feels over-compressed and over-pronounced, whereas if I take it all the way down to -9, you can barely tell what I'm saying. This is one of the best tips that I can give people, is whatever you did to the bass frequencies, the 90 hertz and the 160 hertz, do something similar to the 1.5K hertz and 4.5K hertz frequencies. So I'm at 2.0. So in this case, I'm at -1. I'm cheating a little bit, but my 4.5K hertz is at 2. This is going to really even out your voice so that your bass isn't overpronounced or your highs aren't overpronounced. Last but not least, we're going to go to the 7.8 kilohertz frequencies, which is the airiness part of your voice. If you go all the way to +9, you definitely can almost like, the breath almost hurts to listen to, and then my S's get very pronounced and very annoying. Whereas if I take it all the way out, again, I lose a lot of that definition. Usually, I like to stay around 2 to 3 on this one. I think I'm going to stay at 2 in this case. And that's it. That's your EQ. It's not going to be perfect if you're a bass, tenor, alto, or soprano style voice. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but these are kind of the best blanket settings to get you close to sounding awesome and hopefully gets you up and streaming and creating content faster. That's also the hardest part of this video. Next, let's go to the compressor, and the compressor is really simple. I recommend a ratio of 4:1 and a threshold of about -17 to -20. If you are a louder person, I would set it to -20. If you're a quieter person, -17. The ratio of 4:1, I think, works great for everybody, but if you are a screamer, you're a rager, you're worried about your microphone peaking while you're speaking, you can bump that up to as high as 8:1, but it's going to make a lot more compressed vocal sounds, which you may or may not like. The last thing we want to do on the compressor is open up OBS and see where our voice is currently peaking. You want your voice to be peaking at the top of the yellow, low end of the red. And when I look at this right now, we're at about -15, which means that I'm going to need about 5 decibels of gain, makeup gain on the compressor to make up for that. So I'm going to do that right now. And there we're sitting much better at a much better broadcast volume than we were before. If you need to go much higher than like 6 or 7 dB on the makeup gain, you might want to go back to the mic setup and bump up your gain a few dBs. Last but not least is the gate. And the gate is also relatively easy, but this is the only part I can't do for you. You don't have to worry about the attenuation or the attack. Keep them at 100% and 10 milliseconds. Set the release to 200 milliseconds. I think that that's a really good neutral amount for spoken word. However, you'll notice right now you're hearing my background noise. You hear my PC fan in the background, maybe the air conditioner, and a little bit of the reverb. We want to get rid of that. So what you do is you start at off, you start with threshold at off, and you slowly raise it until your background noise goes away. I need to be quiet to do this, but let's do that now. So mine did it almost immediately at -4 decibels or 54 decibels. That's pretty normal for most people. I'm going to go ahead and like click and type. That's coming through a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit more of a buffer. If you go any higher than -42, it means that you've got a real room noise problem and you need to look at solutions on how to fix that, whether that's with acoustic paneling, hiding your computer under your desk instead of on your desk, or figuring out what you can do to make your room colder without having a box fan in there. So there's one more trick I want to show you, and that has to do with the de-esser. The GoXLR Mini does not have a de-esser. There's not enough processing on the physical device to be able to do that. If you're really struggling with S's, there's 2 things you can do. First of all, speak into your microphone at like a 45-degree angle. If I go directly on and start speaking, see how much more pronounced my S's are? If I'm off to the side, my S's are still there, they're still present, but they are muted a little bit more. The second thing is this EQ trick. So what you'll do is you'll enable fine-tune EQ, and you'll go to the 4.5 kilohertz. And what you'll do is you'll slide it up to 5 kilohertz. And you'll notice my S's, if I put it all the way up to +9, my S's get really pronounced. and all the way down to -9, I have virtually no S's. What I can do here now is I can remove a little bit of my highs, but also where my S's live. And now what I've done is I've removed a lot of those S's. So when I speak directly into the microphone, it actually sounds quite good. This is a great way to have kind of a pseudo de-esser when you don't actually have a de-esser. And that's it. At this point, your microphone should sound really pretty good. As I've said before twice in the video, everyone's voice and microphone is different, so your settings aren't necessarily going to be perfect for everybody. But for most people, these are going to get you more than adequately there. If you want the best results, I recommend watching my longer video on this subject. Or what you can do is hop into my Discord, and we have a Sound Check Me channel, and in there, I will help you EQ your voice for free. Just show me what you've got, create a recording, and I'll help you. But the purpose of this video was to help you get the best sound for your microphone as quickly as possible without cutting any corners or without skipping over important aspects that you should probably know about your microphone chain. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and of course, click the bell if you want to know whenever a new video goes live. You can also follow me on all of my social media at KickedTripod. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to hear topics that you would like me to cover in the future, especially as it pertains to streaming and content creation audio. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.